Right, Coach Helen for YouFit Studio, doing another episode. I think it's 180, I might have 190 something by now. I think it's 190. Ain't that a shocker? I wish I remember why is it sunny outside my window, Belle? Because it's a lie. It's a lie, Mel. It's a lie. I faked out some sunshine just for this. Yeah, it's sunny. I'm on the other side of the world, Mel. I never told you. Right. Haha. Let's get into it. I got distracted then. No, it's not sunny. It's a lie. It's a lie, Mel. I'm sorry. Now, what was the saying? Got it right. Okay, doing a recap on episode 1 million. I want to go back and find episode 1. Well, it was a shocker. It's probably about 7 hours long. Anybody was there, I'm sorry. Went on for a while. But hey, it was lockdown. We had nothing else to do, right? Other than to listen to me go on about something. And this is one of the things I went on about. Funnily enough. I'm not going to go on about it as long today. You'll be pleased to know. However, it is a word. I'm going to say the words. I'm going to say the word because it is around quite a few places, here, there and everywhere. The word is, people, the word is, you ready? Have a drink. Overwhelmed. Overwhelmed. We are back in the overwhelmed territory. And I will hear it something like this. Helen, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Feeling overwhelmed. It's overwhelming. Helen, I find it overwhelming. There's so much going on, it's overwhelming. I've got so much to do. I don't know where to start. I feel overwhelmed. The whole situation is overwhelming. Like, I could go on. This is how I'm hearing it in a placement, right? Which, you know, we could pick holes in how it's said and all the rest of it, the emotional side of it. There is, not suddenly, I would say that there's been a growing trend of some people in the position where they were to some degree a few months ago, when I last talked about this, saying they're feeling overwhelmed about their situation. And one of the things that's really important to pick out, which I think I picked out last time, but I will pick out this time, is that there's a, and it's even the name of the actual episode, which gives it away a little bit, is the feeling overwhelmed. Now, someone say they are overwhelmed is a different connotation. I am overwhelmed. Feeling like they are overwhelmed is something else, because it's a recognition that it's an emotion. So it's an emotional state where someone is in, right? Which, as we know, I've talked about emotional states being temporary, because they are. However, in that particular moment in time, it might seem to the individual that it's been going on for a long time, and they're permanently in the feeling of overwhelmed. And often what happens is, actually, in reality, in fact, 100% of the time, when somebody is feeling, I'm not doing money because I'm not saying it's real, so I'm saying they're feeling, using the word emotion, overwhelmed, that will inevitably, that's a long one, inevitably mean that actually there's no action taking place. So nothing is actually happening in the sense of, because there's so much that someone is trying to see through, that they don't actually take any action, as in they're unable. I'll just use some clear ones, like unable to do some training, unable to plan food, unable to meditate, not in a position to be able to organise, to plan, to deal with work management or stress management. So actually what happens is kind of status quo, or not much, because someone is in a space where they can't see a way forward because there's too much to see in their head, right? And that creates that feeling of overwhelmed, right? So the reality is, it's yes, I do strongly believe it's an emotional state, because it's an emotional state that will pass and always passes, right? However, I used this analogy before. The reality is, it's like standing in the middle of the storm while it's whirling around you, and everything whirling around you is all the things that you think you are meant to get a grip on, or meant to have organised, or meant to have sorted out. And the thing is, it's whirling so fast that actually it's really difficult to pick out the individual things. You just know it's all there. And the thing is about that analogy is, it's when you speak to, if you've ever experienced this, you'll know that that is actually how it really feels. That actually in the centre of a storm, I sometimes use other language, it's a bit naughty. However, you're in the middle of a storm and you cannot get a grip on anything because it's moving too fast, and you're unable to focus. The result of that is actually that status quo. So no movement forward, inability to plan, inability to find the pathway through, right? Can't see the wood for the trees, I think, is the analogy I used as well. Now, again, the thing is that, and this may sound harsh for anybody who might be listening to this who's in the middle of it right now, because being in the middle of that kind of storm is not pleasant, and can elicit some, I use the same word I used a couple of weeks ago in another episode, some anxiety, right? Some anxiety that it's all moving too fast and it's all too much to actually deal with, and that creates that stress. So this may sound insensitive, however, again, in reality, it's kind of true. So in reality, what's happening is a complete in that moment inability to be able to make a pathway forward, because there is no clear insight into what the actual path is. Now, there is always, I'm going to say this definitively, there is always a pathway through. Always. 150 billion%. There is always a pathway through when you are feeling, sorry, bad news again, feeling overwhelmed, because the feeling side, right, what do I always talk about? Feelings are emotions, whereas fact is less emotional, it's clinical, right? If you can factually see, whenever I do this exercise, and I'm going to repeat the exercise because I've had to a couple of times over the last week or so, when someone actually gets this stuff into some kind of form of structure, it's amazing how suddenly actually all the fear, all the anxiety, all the feelings suddenly dissipate, because they can go, oh yeah, actually. And the reality is, it's a very, very simple exercise. Unfortunately, sometimes when somebody's feeling overwhelmed or they're feeling anxious, sometimes some clarity can feel a million miles away. However, factually speaking, it isn't. It just needs some kind of incentive, sometimes me or someone else, to elicit that action, that exercise, to say, okay, let's really now just storm. If you're in the middle of a storm, right, and I challenge you, if you're in the middle of this right now, because I've got quite a few people in there, if you're in the middle of this storm, like this, don't know so much, don't know where to start, then the pure, unfortunate, slightly insensitive fact is that you have to start. You actually have to start. And the thing is that starting, people think means I've got to do something. No, you don't actually have to do something. You have to take action because you're already static. What you need to do and have to do to find a way forward is actually just start to understand what it is. This is the biggest thing when you talk to someone, and I've talked to clients who are overwhelmed, is they don't actually know, they can't definitively say what one thing is the biggest issue, because everything is so big. If you see, like, if you had, let's go for it, 10 things in someone's head, all of them have the same level of importance, all of them have the same level of urgency, all of them needed to be done yesterday, as far as that person is concerned in that moment of time when they're feeling overwhelmed. All of it has the same importance, all of it has to be done as soon as possible, all of it has high level, intense consequences if not done, that are possibly life-threatening, right? It sounds like I'm overdoing it. It's actually not in someone's head when they're there, right? Now, the reality is, if I say it logically, we all know that when out of that moment, most people look at those things and go, well, actually, you know what? Finding batteries for the remote control probably wasn't as urgent as putting in my tax returns. However, again, slightly like obscure kind of examples, and yet when you get down to it, often that is actually the case. That a lot of the things, these 10 things, for example, that may have felt at the time to be at the same level of importance. When you actually start to understand what the actual things are you need to do, you can start to grade their importance and actually what the consequences are. Now that we're coming up to, we have been through lots of periods of time of more uncertainty, etc. Let's not get into it too much. However, that's what I think is leading to more sense of people feeling overwhelmed because they are unable to see the things they're meant to be doing. There's no clarity on it. Now, again, reality is if you plan, if you take what's in your head and start to write it down or verbalize it at least and say, right, actually, what are the things that I need to do, that I want to do, and I don't actually have to do anything about, right? Because there's another level to this, right? And this is also a huge one. There is, of all these things that people talk about, there's also an underlying, probably of those 10 things, there's probably another 15 things that don't actually require any action anyway, that are completely out of someone's control, that there's nothing they can do about. However, in that storm, they will see it all on the same level. So all the things that literally they have no control over, they have no, like they're trying to plan ahead for the next 6 months, they have no control over that, but they keep thinking they're meant to be doing things. Well, actually, let's just get down into the bare essentials of what it is you actually need to do. That's the way through. And this is why I say to you, always 150 million bajillion trillion dollars. There is always a way through the storm. The thing is, you have to understand what the storm is made of, right? Until you do, that's why it will always be a blur. That's why it will always be a massive amount of stuff, right? It's always stuff. This is the thing, and this is a challenge I'm going to make. If you are someone who senses they are in that overwhelmed kind of state at the moment, actually challenge yourself to write it down. Challenge yourself to write down all the things you think you are meant to have had a grasp on or meant to have been taking action on right now. I'm not challenging you to take action on anything. I'm just asking you to actually see what it is. I mean, there is another level after that, because once you have seen what it is, you can actually, as I said earlier, start to grade it in importance. With some clients, I'll do it like 1 to 3, 1 to 5 is the exercise I talked about last time. Actually start to grade. Actually, do I need to be doing this? Is it like grade 3, 3 being the maximum force? Is this a 3? Is it a 2? Is it a 1? 1 doesn't need any action at all. And then start to see if you can take action on any of these to start to chip away at it. Because I tell you now, when you do this exercise with somebody and actually get them to even do 1 or 2 things that's been going around their head for, if not hours, weeks, maybe secretly months, do you know what? The sense of relief from going from feeling overwhelmed to understanding factually that they have some control over a lot of these elements and let go of the things they don't have control over is brilliant. Yeah, whew, never realised it was so easy. Like, yeah, so easy. Just understand what it is. I'm saying just. This is the trouble. When you are emotionally involved in it, engaged in it in the moment, that can be very difficult. That's why you have us. That's why you have a coach, right? A coach is there to see and help you find the pathway through too. So, as always, I like to interject, use, not necessarily abuse, however, use your coach to actually help you see a pathway through. Job's a good one. So let's recap it, because it's that time. So I said feeling overwhelmed is it's a biggie one at the moment. It's impacting a lot of people. It seems to be coming back around again, certainly because there's a sense of some lack of control over some situations, and therefore this is creating some movements around people's expectations about what they're meant to be able to manage, really. So I say it's a feeling, so it's always a feeling because it's emotionally based. It tends always ends up being this massive storm of stuff, a ball of stuff that is just constantly moving around someone, and they struggle to see through it because it is constantly moving, and everything is at the same importance, right? Going to the food shop is the same importance as getting a kid's school uniform, whatever it is, right? Everything is like massively the same perspective because everyone's fears or anxiety or emotions around all those tasks, all swelling around them, has the same level of importance at that time. And the thing I'm saying is that you can always find a way through once you understand what the storm is made of. Once you know what it is you're dealing with, you can start to make a plan. It doesn't mean, like I say, you start knocking these out of the park like you're super efficient or you're a superhero. It's not about that. It's about understanding what you're dealing with and putting fact to the fears. So again, going back to an earlier life, once you apply a fact to a fear, which is always based on something that isn't real, then you can start to understand your way forward. But yeah, feeling overwhelmed? Anyone? If you are, by the way, you actually do want some more support, in all fairness, in all honesty, I always hate saying this, DM me. Contact me through a messaging service supplied by either Instagram or Facebook, whereby I can offer further support. Or just message me, or DM me, as you like to say. Because in all fairness, it's good to talk and all that. To quote a very old advert that nobody will probably remember apart from me. Where's Kate when you need her? She would remember that one. In the meantime, back on Monday, a little bit more talk about this, about what's happening with peeps in general and how they're responding and dealing. And that's again 5 o'clock on Monday. In the meantime, have a fabulous evening and weekend, and I'll catch you later.